last post-ceremony. My name is Craig Burrell, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Air Force is Chaplain Hayden Lee. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria, and RSL Queensland, who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by visitors to the memorial. If you're able, please stand for the National Anthem. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn their loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Lance Sergeant Francis William Sides. Francis Sides, generally known as Frank, was born on the 15th of December 1913 in Mackay, North Queensland, the eldest son of John and Florence Sides. A young Frank Sides attended Townsville Grammar School, where he quickly became known as an outstanding cricket player. He made his debut first-class appearance for Queensland against South Australia in the Sheffield Shield at the age of 17, making him the youngest player to play for the team. Illness caused by his work as a member of the Townsville Fire Brigade forced Sides to retire from cricket for a number of years. When he returned, he quickly became well known as a dashing left-handed batsman. Sides moved to Victoria in 1937 and in his final match for Victoria scored 121 runs, achieving his first century in first-class cricket. The coming of the Second World War, however, disrupted many professional sporting events. By December 1941, most state cricket associations had agreed to abandon interstate matches until the end of the war, and the Melbourne Cricket Ground was commandeered by the services. Sides, whose father was a veteran of the First World War, followed that example by enlisting on the 26th of March 1941. After a period of pre-embarkation leave, he began training at Redbank. He was then marched out to Caulfield Camp, where he was promoted to acting corporal and attended various training centres. On the 1st of September 1941, Sides was transferred to the 3rd Independent Company, one of 12 independent or commando companies and squadrons formed by the Australian Army. Following Japan's entry into the war, the 3rd Independent Company was sent to New Caledonia. While it was originally intended to garrison New Caledonia as only a temporary measure, when it was relieved by a much larger American division, the American commander was so impressed that he sought to retain the unit so that they could retrain his division. At the start of August 1942, the company was withdrawn and returned to Australia. In October 1942, Sides married Dorothy Sarovich, whose brother he had met while playing cricket in Victoria. The newly wedded couple's time together would be brief. After 6 months in Australia, Sides sailed for New Guinea with his unit. From Port Moresby, the company was flown to Wau, participating in the Australian pursuit of the Japanese towards Mubo. When the company moved to Missim, they waged a guerrilla war against the Japanese around the Commiatum Track in support of the 3rd Division's campaign around Salamaua. The terrain over which the company fought during the Wau-Salamaua campaign was dense, with rugged jungle-covered mountains. Sides and his comrades patrolled deep into Japanese territory, setting ambushes and gathering intelligence, as well as making a number of attacks against Japanese positions. In May 1943, the company captured Ambush Knoll, which controlled a nearby ridge and threatened Japanese supply lines. The Japanese made several counterattacks in force to try to retake the knoll. Despite having only 52 men, the Australians managed to hold the position. But heavy casualties were suffered, including Lance Sergeant Sides, who was killed on the 25th of August at Kunai Spur, Salamaua. The 3rd Independent Company earned high praises for its part in the Wau-Salamaua campaign, but it cost them heavily. Credited with having killed 969 Japanese, the company suffered 65 battle fatalities, 119 wounded, and 226 men had to be evacuated for medical reasons. By the time the campaign was over, there were only 34 men who were left from the original group that had flown into Wau. Among those who survived was Frank Sides' younger brother Ferdinand, who had served in the same unit. Frank Sides was remembered as gentle, determined, and courageous, and his death was noted, sadly, by major newspapers as another loss of a promising Australian cricketer. Today, Frank Sides lies buried in the Leahy War Cemetery under the epitaph chosen by his grieving family. The close of a noble innings, his duty well done. His name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my left, amongst almost 40,000 Australians who died while serving in the Second World War. His photograph is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Lance Sergeant Francis William Sides, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them. Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the last post ceremony. We thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial, and we wish you all a very good evening.